What we're preparing for here is the possibility of king tides coinciding with severe weather. And that can bring a storm surge that adds to the effect of king tides and raises the water high enough to potentially flood the area that we're standing. In 2012, the water level reached about 5.5 meters. These sandbags are above that. These are about 5.8 meters. To be sure, we have a little bit of freeboard if we get similar conditions to those we had a few years ago. And in 2012, the park was flooded. The street was not, but it was very close. So we want to be sure that we're protected and we avoid the possibility of the water crossing the street and going into the neighborhood. We did this last year, and this is something that is an ongoing issue for the city, especially as we see the gradual impacts of climate change. So in the long term, we're going to need a permanent solution in locations like this. Probably something like raising the pathway in the park or building the sidewalk higher, or perhaps raising the road, although of course that would be the most costly. But we are doing that planning work now as we speak. We're engaged with parks and with the residents of the neighborhood to look at the best long-term solutions to protect the neighborhood from potential flooding.
Well, so since 2012, we've been assessing the risk and what it might look like 50 years out, 100 years out, and we've used 5 different sea level rise scenarios to determine where it might get wet. So where is the possible floodplain in the future and what are those consequences? And then also determining sort of timeline where things might get wet when. And I think that the coastline will look similar. I think we'll have that same great access. It'll still be that great livable amenity, but it will be different, sort of more of a raised. You might see some protection interwoven in the parks. Perhaps we might have some harder edges or raised seawall in certain areas. It will look different, but I still think it will be the same Vancouver shoreline.